Euromaxx highlights, coming up on the show. In focus, Leica cameras are popular with photographers around the world. On paper, Claude Monet's paintings of his water lilies are now available in a book. In view, British photographer Terry O'Neill has special snapshots of Elton John. Euromaxx, and here's your host, Robin Merrill.
And a very warm welcome from Berlin. The Curse of the Darkling Mill by German author Ottfried Preußler has sold nearly 2 million copies and been translated into 31 languages since it was first published back in the 70s. It's a dark story of an orphan who becomes a magician's apprentice and learns how to turn himself into a raven. Finally, it's been made into a film, obviously with special effects, but also featuring real live ravens. We met up with animal trainer Karl, a man with a lot of patience when it comes to coaching ravens.
Krabat is the eponymous hero of the film, a miller's apprentice who can transform himself into a raven. It's a fairy tale about the power of magic. Ravens play a key role in both the original book and in the new movie directed by Marco Kreuzpeitner. The real-life raven is taken care of by Karl, who lives near Vienna. The animal trainer coached 5 common ravens for the film.
They were looking for a small, cheeky raven to play Krabat, a bit small, a bit on the stubborn side, in order to correctly portray him.
Accuracy in their flight paths was imperative on set. The ravens had to take off and land as directed, and fly at specific angles. Patience is a precious resource for a raven trainer. The bird's intelligence is comparable with that of chimpanzees and dolphins, but they prove far harder to train. The ravens develop their own strategies for getting their claws on their rewards.
I have to constantly trick these birds. The real problem with them is you're always having to think up new tricks. But after 3 years, of course, the birds know me all too well, while I hardly know them.
Ravens have always had a mysterious aura. They've often featured in fairy tales as either figures of great wisdom or bearers of bad omens.
Hey, Micha.
Karl Lang's protégés are called Micha, Krabat and Korax. Their special screen tasks include carrying a range of objects, from rings to teaspoons and watches. A raven's penchant for collecting things comes in handy here, provided you can outsmart them.
Intelligence can be an obstacle to training. The smarter a creature is, the tougher it will be to impose your will on it.
The trained animal keeper began working in the film and TV industry 12 years ago. His animals have featured in over 200 productions to date. As with all thespians, the character and charisma of the animals are important.
They need to have these little quirks and imperfections. The last thing we want is a well-behaved animal.
The sky may prove to be the limit for his 5 ravens when the film Krabat hits German cinema screens in October.
A patient man. Photokina in Cologne is the world's biggest fair on photography and all forms of imaging. And Leica is one of the legendary names when it comes to cameras. Nearly every professional photographer has used a Leica at some time in their career. So the unveiling of a new one is always awaited with great anticipation by true fans of the photographic art. This year, the company chose the Photokina Fair for the world premiere of their brand new camera.
The star of the evening is still hidden. The 300 guests know it must be a Leica, but what sort? Fans whisper among themselves, wondering what it can do. Leica dealer Lars Netopil doesn't want to miss the moment of unveiling.
What awaits the international Leica fan community in the up-and-coming Photokina? What's happening about single-lens reflex cameras? So far, we've had manually focused systems, but is automatic focus coming? What will it look like? We are all in suspense.
Great expectations. The legend lives on. But what lies behind the Leica phenomenon? Wetzlar is the birthplace of the Leica camera, and it's where Lars Netopil has his camera shop. The 40-year-old used to be an attorney, but he's so crazy about Leica cameras, he changed professions.
When I was in school, I photographed with a Leica. At some point, I began buying older models rather than the newer ones. I was a real collector very early. And if you collect lots of cameras, at some point you start dealing in them. And so my hobby became a business.
Lars provides collectors all over the world with their dream cameras. Some of his cameras come from customers. Others he searches for worldwide, but price is not always the most important thing. Many Leica collectors have emotional reasons for their hobby.
The collector looks for a camera with a history. That means a product from the 50s or earlier, the kind the great photographers of those times used. Ideally, it would be the very camera used by one of those photographers.
Lars owns a camera with historical value, valued at over 100,000 euros. He keeps it in a safe.
This is a prototype M3 camera. It's a version made just before the camera went into production. Only about 65 were made altogether, and only about 10, 12, or 15 of them have survived.
Many Leica aficionados are fascinated by the flexible system. Even 70-year-old lenses can be easily screwed onto the latest models with the aid of an adapter. That's part of what turns many customers into collectors. Taking photos and collecting, Leica satisfies both desires.
Customers who buy a Leica have a liking for photography. Anyone can put on a watch or wear an expensive belt or an expensive suit. But a customer who buys a Leica is someone who is photographed. Someone who may not have been able to afford a Leica when he was young. And so today he buys several. Leica made the first 35mm cameras, the most legendary ones. Maybe that's the fascination.
Many world-famous photographers and artists have lost their hearts to the Leica, including movie director Wim Wenders. He even has a film dedicated to Leica.
Eine Kamera als Auge, als Hand und als Herz.
Leica photographers are people who are primarily interested in the picture. They're not technology freaks, but people who consider the picture as, let's say, sacred, and who found their way to the picture through a Leica. Leica allows people to approach picture taking differently than they would with another camera.
And then the big moment arrives. Hundreds of cameras gaze on in envy because this evening is devoted to just one of them, the S2, a medium-sized camera with an automatic focus that will continue the legend.
This was really Leica's best-kept secret in a long, long time, and of course I'm surprised and very impressed.
Leica fans admire the new member of the family, but the new baby still has to show whether it can live up to the family name and contribute to the illustrious history of Leica.
Claude Monet was a founder of French Impressionism. Indeed, the name derives from one of his famous pictures called Impressionism Sunrise. Perhaps his best-known works are those of the water lilies that he painted again and again over the last 25 years of his life. More than 200 paintings in all, which have for the very first time been brought together in book form. We met one of the authors in, where else? The beautiful garden in Giverny.
Art historian Jean-Dominique Rey knows Claude Monet's garden in Giverny extremely well. Monet is his great passion.
As a child, I used to play in the Tuileries Gardens in Paris and go to the Orangerie Museum to see Monet's paintings. I must have been 10 or 12 years old, and even then I was deeply moved by these pictures.
Monet began creating the water garden at Giverny in the 1890s. He wanted to make his own personal paradise in this peaceful place, 100 kilometers northwest of Paris.
This garden, this pond, it's all his work. He created it. He decided on every single plant. Monet composed Giverny like a painting.
Monet began to paint the same motifs over and over at different times of day and in different weather conditions. The water lilies, the willows, and the Japanese-style bridge.
Monet often stood on this bridge to paint his water lilies. You often find this view in his paintings. What makes his pictures so special is that you only see water and nature in them. There's almost no sky in them. Everything is centered, and everything is close up.
In the last 25 years of his life, Monet painted at least 251 pictures of water lilies. Perhaps there are more waiting to be discovered, but now Jean-Dominique Rey and Denis Rouard have published reproductions of all the known ones in their book, Monet's Water Lilies.
It wasn't easy to find all the paintings, because over the last 10, 20, 50 years, many have changed owners several times. Many are in Japan or the United States in museums and private collections. We really had to search.
Monet was already famous during his lifetime, but surprisingly, hardly anyone was interested in his water lily paintings. Today, Monet's water lilies are in greater demand than ever before and repeatedly fetch record prices. This painting sold for more than 51 million euros in June.
I think Monet's current success has to do with the fact that he gives people some joy. He lets them get very close to nature. A nature they may be familiar with, but no longer really experience. And beyond that, he had a unique and masterly way of interpreting this nature.
Many Monets have disappeared into private collections, but many others can be viewed in museums and galleries. The gardens at Giverny are open to the public, and excellent reproductions of the painter's work can be enjoyed in Jean-Dominique Rey's new book.
German supermodel Franziska Knupper is following in the footsteps of another model who's possibly Germany's most recognizable female at the moment, Heidi Klum. After a decade of successful modeling, Knupper is presenting the Swiss version of the casting show Supermodel. Heidi Klum presents the German one. We filmed Franziska Knupper while she was filming her new TV show in Zurich.
Hallo.
I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, it's all new to me. Now the girls are running.
In just a few minutes, Franziska Knupper will make her first appearance as a TV show host in Switzerland. It's a whole new venture for the longtime model.
I'm always nervous. Even after 11 years on the catwalk, I still get a little anxious. But I think you need that in order to focus, because otherwise you can get careless.
Although she's been shown the ropes by a television pro, Franziska wants to bring her personal style to the show. But they've set the bar of success fairly high. Even though it's a smaller market, the Swiss casting show will be measured against its German counterpart. Germany's Next Top Model, moderated by Franziska Knüpper's colleague Heidi Klum. Like Heidi Klum, Franziska Knüpper has recruited the successful catwalk coach Bruce Darnell as a juror. He's a big fan of Franziska.
She's got that special glamour effect, that glamour factor. Modeling is an absolutely brutal and cutthroat business. But she's a woman who showed that it's possible to make it big on your own terms. It's possible to be charming, to be easygoing, and still reach your goal. And she has a big heart.
Franziska Knüpper was discovered by fashion designer Wolfgang Job 11 years ago. She's since modelled the collections of many major designers, from Job to Vivienne Westwood. She's appeared on countless magazine covers, and last year she made her film debut in Hans Weingartner's Free Reiner. In her casting show, she hopes to prepare young hopefuls for the tough world of modelling.
It's a competition, just like out there in the real world. You have to be able to stand up for yourself, to go out there and say, here I am, I'm someone, I'm capable, take me.
Standing up to the competition, that's what Franziska Knüpper plans to do in the world of television. She's a natural in front of the camera.
I like to talk, so this job is made to order.
Franziska Knüpper appears as confident and elegant on screen as she did on the catwalk.
See you later.
British photographer Terry O'Neill was one of the in crowd in the swinging 60s, mixing with the likes of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. But it was with Elton John that he has had a long-standing personal friendship since the pop star's early career. O'Neill has just brought out a kind of biography in pictures of Elton John, which reveals more about the private man behind what is a very public image.
Elton John is a world-famous pop star, but what his fans might not all know is that he's also an avid football fan. And record collector. British photographer Terry O'Neill, on the other hand, does know that. He spent decades in Elton's company.
He's standing there and he suddenly leapt up, I couldn't believe it, and he jumped up and he just made a fantastic picture. I mean, he's got so much energy, and when he works, I mean, he's one of the few artists who absolutely gives it 100% or 150% every show.
Over the years, O'Neill took thousands of photographs of Sir Elton. Many have never been shown in public until now. He's exhibiting some 200 pictures in London's Proud Gallery. The opening party was a highlight of the season's society calendar. After so many years behind the camera, O'Neill suddenly found himself in the spotlight. Did he feel like a star?
No, hate it. Hate it. That's why I'm good with people who hate being photographed.
He's almost unique. He's a very, very good photographer. Technically very good. And he really pays attention. He's been around for such a long time.
Terry O'Neill's a legend. I mean, people talk, I think it's one of those strange things. People talk about Bailey, a bit like people talk about, I don't know, Lennon and McCartney, but I think Terry O'Neill's sort of up there.
A star amongst the stars. Once married to actress Faye Dunaway, O'Neill gained a reputation for being able to detect stars in the making. He's photographed the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Audrey Hepburn, Brigitte Bardot, and even the British royal family.
I was born at the right time. In the beginning, I thought that, you know, the 60s weren't going to last. I used to sit in these clubs with the Stones and Beatles. We used to make jokes about, can you imagine mixing it at 40? And, you know, what job were we going to get when all this is over? We thought it was just a time that had come.
O'Neill was already an established photographer when he met Elton John in the early 70s, back when the pop legend was still relatively unknown.
He hated being photographed. He hates it. So I just made it easy for him. You know, I used to go there and I always had ideas. So when I saw he was getting a bit fed up, I'll move on to the next idea and move on. So I just, and he's supposed to be temperamental, but he never, not a sign of it with me.
O'Neill documented Elton's rise to fame, from his humble beginnings to the concerts that filled huge stadiums throughout the world. The exhibition and the book that goes with it offer insights into the life of one of the most successful stars in the history of pop. Some of O'Neill's pictures became iconic album covers. Other, lesser-known images include Elton's family portraits or snapshots of him at his private jet.
That's a shot on the plane. That was probably the best concert. And this shot from behind, I got up on the stage. I mean, nobody's ever allowed to get on the stage when an artist's on there. But I thought, if I don't get this picture, I'm going to live with the thought of not getting it.
One star pays homage to another. Eltonography, a life in pictures at the Proud Gallery in London.
Anyway, that's that. Auf Wiedersehen.
And those were some of the events, anniversaries and highlights of our week here in Europe. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you want to see any of those reports again, you can see them on YouTube. See you again next time. Bye-bye for now.